Hi. All right, I have to make sure I'm all set up and that everyone can see. Hello. I'm gonna actually move this out the way so you can see the table. Welcome. Hi, you guys. Give everybody a few more minutes. I'm gonna wait till 5:02. Hi. I wanna get into the table. This is very hard to do when I have the front facing camera on, but I wanted you guys to see the setup before I started to talk. So hi everyone, my name is Oneida and I own a company called Petite Seats. I'm based in New Jersey and I provide simply beautiful tables and chairs for kids events. I rent farm tables, crossback chairs, Travari chairs, just for kids parties. And I wanted to have a conversation today about accessorizing your table or accessorizing tablescapes using amazing products. So I was fortunate enough to have some very, very special candles sent to me by the Modern Wick, and I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to have a live. So I want to get into my tablescape, okay? And then I'm going to talk to you about things that I do when I am styling a table. So as you see, these candles, they look like works of art. And what's so amazing about them is that they have so many amazing colors in them. Let me see, I don't know how to turn the camera around. Let me try it. There we are. So you see all of the different shades of orange and pinks, splashes of silver. So what I did is I used those basic colors and I created a look with the dominating color being silver. So I have these plates and those were something that I have in my stash, but very simple. So this will be something for like a dessert party where you don't want to go over the top, but still have something that's nice and compact, table setting for 4. And I saw you on here, Bonnie. You see my makeshift balloon garland. I tried my best, but I had the balloons that complemented these colors for the candles from the Modern Wick, and super amazing. So imagine this setting for an outdoor event, and you have the soft candlelight. You light the candles, and you're good to go. And it keeps the bugs away, and it's also very, very elegant on the table. And what I did is I layered the plates, put a little dessert fork, and of course a cupcake. And these are actually Christmas ornaments. I didn't actually do this, but my friend Valerie curated this. They are Christmas ornaments that we hot glued together to create like this almost, I'll back up so you can see it. It's almost like a table runner, but very, very simple and compact. And it's still like when people walk in the room, they're just amazed that something so simple with the candles can be such an impact. So I'm going to turn my camera back around and I'm going to talk about styling a table or styling a tablescape. Now, you know my niche are kids events, but I'm going to talk about just the different elements that can go on a table and how to use accessories to make your tables pop. So first and foremost, you're styling a table and you are just going with the flow. You're creating something that is meaningful for you and It's something that you can use elements that you've already had, different pieces of flatware, your own existing stemware, or disposables. It does not matter. Whatever you feel you have that you want to use, you go for it. And the whole thing is you start with your basics. So you have your table linen, and as you see, I use just like an elastic spandex tablecloth for my 4-foot table, and it stretches. It's very modern, so it fit in line with the candles from the Modern Wick, and it just is almost like a backdrop for your table. And with the linens, then of course people use flowers or they use candles, and you don't always have to have flowers. Like, that's something that people think they have to have, but no, you can definitely style a table without flowers. I love the idea of using candles because flowers, you know, especially in this heat, they wilt, they are expensive, and you can't reuse them. So with candles, you can definitely reuse them and put them in your house as a centerpiece for your coffee table or your credenza. It doesn't matter, but you can repurpose them later on once you purchase them for your event. You have your stemware, your flatware. You have a placemat. That's a huge thing right now. People using placemats and napkins on their tables, under their plate, and even at elegant events. Because for me, I always thought that placemats were for like a kids event or a less formal event, but I've seen them being used like a square placemat in a more formal event, and it looks dynamic. So that with a runner and your charger plate and candlelight, you have your elements for a tablescape. So it's a very creative way to express yourself with your table. I always think that before you start to plan or before the day of the event, do not set your table up that day of, because it's nerve-wracking. So when I am planning an event, I like to set the basic linen, stemware, plates, centerpieces 2 days before or a day before, because it gives me time to plan it out and design it so that if I want to move pieces, it's not in the spur of the moment and I don't feel this pressure. So it's a 2-day kind of event for me to set it up and make sure that everything is where I need it to be. And the whole point is to create something that's visually interesting. Like, you want people to walk in the room and just be blown away that you styled this amazing table, and they come over and they're looking at each little detail. So on my table, it's not a lot of detail, but somebody may walk in and be like, oh my goodness, is that a cupcake on the plate? So you want something that's gonna be almost like a thought-provoking thing, something that people get excited about. And so that is what I like to do when I am talking about this visually interesting table. So you're using different layers, different heights of objects, textures and textiles. So you can be as creative as you want. You don't have to be matchy-matchy, because it doesn't make for an interesting table. So go as far and beyond as you want, because people, want to look at the table and have conversations about it. Like, I've seen a lot of tablescapes that are amazing conversation starters. And you want to be mindful as you're planning a tablescape of eye level. So if everyone is sitting down at this table, they can see across the table and talk to each other. Now, of course, especially at huge weddings, you sometimes see like a 6-foot centerpiece on the table. So people are not able to talk across the table just to the people next to them. So it just depends on the type of event, on whether or not you want a centerpiece that is going to be so big that people can't talk across the table from each other. I get inspiration from everywhere when I am trying to design a tablescape. So for the last style shoot that I did, if you look at my page, you'll see that it was, actually I had 2 recently, but one was the outer space theme, and it was a monochromatic outer space theme. And my whole thing was, I wanted it to be modern, minimalist, but still very, very masculine. And so I went back and forth on whether or not to have flowers, and it was just a whole thought process. So I started designing like 6 weeks out, and my inspiration came from Pinterest. My inspiration came from people's Instagram feeds that I follow. I also follow the hashtag kids parties. So inspiration came from everywhere. Even when I was in the stores, like at where do I always go? Target and Marshalls and Home Goods. I'm looking all over the place for inspiration for my tables. And with that, I'm able to, like I said, put pieces together that are not from the same collection to make the table more interesting. The overall thing is that you want to be able to curate unique pieces to make one final look. And you know, I love that word. If you follow me, curate is like my favorite word. But you want to be able to create different interesting pieces from all over the place. And so the idea of using candles, and especially candles that the Modern Wick has that are so uniquely shaped, it's a work of art on your table. So if you look at these, aren't they just so pretty? Like, when I think of candles, I'm thinking of pillar candles. I'm thinking of tapered candles or votives, or the little floating ones. These shapes, it's like a flat circle, are just amazing. And you can layer them in different ways. You can put it on a stand. There's a stand that comes with them, if you see. And they're just interesting. They're very interesting pieces, and they provoke conversation. And they're each, because they're handmade, they're each different designs. So that is just an amazing piece of work, especially when you are trying to plan an interesting table. So the use of candles is a go-to. What's trending right now in tablescapes? So I am a Pinterest fanatic. I am an Instagram fanatic. So I'm always looking at trends and what's popular at the moment. So what I've seen, and of course there are others, but what is, I guess, most prevalent right now is I'm seeing people put the cake on the table. So of course this can be for more intimate settings. So they have their complete tablescape, and right in the center they will have the table, the cake stand with the cake on the table. Now I've seen people do 2 or 3 tiered cake in the middle, and then smaller pieces like maybe a macaroon tower or some other kind of dessert anchoring the cake. So it's like 3 pieces on the middle of the table. And that's something that I see trending a lot nowadays. Another trend in the tablescape world that I see are grazing tables. Now, I'm always gonna mess up this word, but I think it's charcuterie. I don't even know. I can't even begin to spell it. But what it is, if I'm sure you already know, the grazing table is that they will take a long, some kind of vessel, a board, or what are we calling these things? Like a slab of slate, something that you're able to place food on. And people can come to the table and just, you know, take bite-sized pieces of whatever they want. So they can mix it with crackers, fruits, cheeses, cuts of meat. It's a very beautiful setup. So they use the foods as their centerpieces. So that's a huge thing right now. That's a trend that, thanks for the confirmation. That's a trend that's happening right now that I'm seeing a lot, especially because the summer months, people are outside, and you know, food is out. So I've seen the grazing tables. I've seen low tables make a resurgence as well. So they have the low tables with the Moroccan poufs, or low tables with really, really nice pillows on sometimes it's not even on a blanket or a rug, it's just on the grass. So that's a huge thing. I have had many people for adult parties use my farm tables as a low table on the beach, in the backyard. So that is something that people are doing a lot now, is having low tables that are not the traditional 30-inch height. And then the last trend that I'm seeing are interactive activities on the table. So what I mean is they will have some kind of interactive game that you can do while you're sitting. In the kids' party world, what I'm seeing, is a lot of like coloring, what are we calling these things? Coloring table runners on the table. So the kids can sit and color as they are, you know, occupied at the kids' table. So those are the 4 trends that I'm seeing a lot. So I'm gonna repeat that for you. It's the cake on the table. So they create like a dessert display on the actual main table. I have seen the grazing tables. the low tables with the poofs is number 3. And then number 4 are the interactive activities at the main table. So those are things that, you know, every day in the special events industry, you see things emerging and changing. And those are things that I find that make a tablescape visually interesting. And of course, the use of candles has been very, very popular in the wedding industry, but now I'm starting to see that, especially with these quarantine-esque parties where people were having it in the backyard in the evenings, I'm starting to see candlelight being brought to the tables for backyard events. And what I love about candlelight is it brings a warmth and a soft glow to the table. So if you're shooting an event where there's candlelight, the pictures are just amazing because it's that warm, soft glow that, you know, you can't get from sunlight. And so it's very, very nice. It's very, it creates like an intimate feel when you have candlelight on your table. And of course, what's very, very nice is when you can do it at varying heights. So if you have low candles that are like 6 inches tall, and then you have a taller candle that is maybe a pillar or a taper, it just adds that varying heights that I talked about before and that dimension that you really want to make the table interesting. What am I missing? Oh, let's talk about placement. I always thought that when you're setting a table that you want things to be symmetric. And so if you put one candle on 6 inches from the left side, you have to put a candle 6 inches from the right side. And what I'm finding is that what I am drawn to aesthetically are tables that have this asymmetric design. Not everything is symmetric. And for me, it gives that interest when somebody is walking to the table. So typically you would see the centerpiece dead set in the middle of the table, which is a huge piece. And then maybe a few tea lights around it. You see your place settings, and that would be it. But what's happening, or what I'm seeing more of now, are people are using or going away from the middle of the table. Like you have your centerpiece, yes, but there are also other decorative elements, other accessories on the table. It could be between place settings. It can be anchoring the main centerpiece. So there are different decor pieces scattered strategically all throughout the table. And I really, really love that look, particularly when you are trying to make each person sitting at the table feel special. You want to give them something that, you know, they can even touch and hold. Like if you have some kind of little tchotchke like right next to someone, and they're, you know, they can say, oh my gosh, this is so cute, and hold it and talk. It's a talking piece at that point. So when you're planning, don't necessarily do everything in a row, everything symmetrical. Make it interesting by placing things, I don't want to say scattered, but strategically place things throughout the whole tabletop. That is something that I find very attractive. And it gives you more room to play with, because people are just thinking about that center aisle, but no, you have the whole tabletop. So make it fun, make it interesting. My inspiration comes from all over, like I said before, but people who I really, really love their centerpieces are, this is a woman in Sydney, Australia, and her name is Mary Ronis Events. So I'm gonna actually pin that here so you guys can check out her page. She does a lot of kids events, but she also does, what are you calling it? Adult events. And what I like about her tables are they're very, very full. So when you're looking at it, it looks super busy, but in actuality, when you go closer to the tables, everything is like its own oasis. She has almost like quadrants where she puts everything. And it's very, very visually pleasing. And then, of course, a hometown favorite. Uh-oh, that's my husband's phone. Sorry, one second. Okay. He doesn't have an iPhone, so I didn't know how to turn it off. But so I said Mary Ronis Events, but a hometown favorite is, of course, Rachel Ostroy, who was like the queen of tablescape. So every holiday, every just special event she does, almost every week she does an amazing tablescape design with the whole florals, and She uses a lot of disposable products. So it's really fun and interesting to see her use the disposable products in a very elegant way. So I love her tablescapes, and maybe one day she will do a Instagram page that's just her tablescapes, so you could see how beautiful they are. And then the last person or the last company that I look for inspiration on Instagram is a company based in Canada, and it's called Wet Luck. So they're a bridal magazine. But when I tell you their tablescapes are like, or their style shoots are like above and beyond, like over the top, amazing, just beautiful, beautiful pieces of works of art. And I look to them a lot for what's trending and just that over the top glam look that I am attracted to. So of course, inspiration comes from everywhere. You could be walking down the street and see a wildflower and say, oh my gosh, that would make an amazing centerpiece. So you just look for it anywhere and be creative as you want when you're designing your tablescape. As I mentioned before, don't start to design a tablescape or implement the design the day of, because that's nerve-wracking. Start to set up your table a day or two before your event, you know, to work it out and move things and piece things together so that the day of, you're not stressing, oh my God, that candle is in the wrong space, or, you know, you just want to have it settled and be satisfied with the design as well before the day of the event. That's really all I have to say. Like, accessories and candles are amazing ways to fill a table without the use of flowers. So I am so for it. And now, of course, that's something that I'll be implementing more of as I style tables for kids events, because, you know, most people don't want to use candles on a kid's table. But when you have something as creative and beautiful as these, like from the Modern Wick, you go for it, you use it. You don't have to light them because, as I said before, they're like modern works of art, very modern, just to be pieces or accessories on the table. So that's my spiel, you guys. If you have any questions, drop them right now and I'll answer any questions you have. I am a style shoot like guru. Like, I do at least 4 to 5 style shoots a year. So I spend a lot of time designing tablescapes. And of course, the first step of design is doing an inspiration board. And that can be just pulling pictures from the internet, pulling pictures from Pinterest, and putting it on I use PowerPoint, putting it on a PowerPoint presentation to bring all the elements together in like a 2-dimensional way. And then once I put it together on the PowerPoint, then of course I start to purchase items and then create it in real life in 3D. So everyone has a different design process, but the whole point is just to do it and use any and everything you can, be as creative as you want, and make it fun. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am very, very happy that the Modern Wick invited me over to their page to speak to you guys about tablescaping with accessories. And I look forward to seeing you guys on my page at Petite Seats. So thanks so much, you guys, and have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Bye-bye.